In this lecture, let's try to create a speech bubble using different CSS positioning techniques. So to create a speech bubble, I'm going to use two different span elements. One span element for this one and one span element for this arrow. So let's do it from scratch. This is a basic web page. Let me add the elements and then style them using different CSS positioning techniques. So let me first add a div element with ID box. This is for styling. So this is the parent element. Within this, let me add an image with src person.png. That is a PNG image I have saved in the same folder where this speechbubble.html lies. Then let me add two different span elements. The first one with ID bubble and with text. I don't know how to solve this issue. And one more span element, that is to show the arrow. So again span with ID arrow. Now we need to style these elements to make them appear as we want in the web page. So let me first style the box element, that is the parent div. So hash box, and let me set the width and height. Let the width be 500 px and also the height be 500 px. Let me set a border of 5 px solid black, and let me also specify a background color like silver. I want to horizontally center this, but with a gap between the border of the page and the element. So let me specify margin 50 px auto. Now let's see how it appears. Let me refresh. See, this is how it is now appearing. Now this box only we have styled. That is why it is getting displayed at the center of the web page. That is horizontally centered, and we are seeing the image. We are also seeing the first span element because it has some text. The second span element is not getting displayed. Now I want to position all these elements with respect to this element. So let me set the position of the parent to be relative and the position of all the three child elements to be absolute. So let me set the position to be relative for the parent, and let me access each of the child elements and set its position to be absolute. Also for bubble, that is hash bubble, let me set position to be absolute. Again for the arrow, so hash arrow position needs to be absolute. Fine. Now let's see how they appear. Let me refresh. See, all of them are displayed here because we have set the position to be absolute. Now using left, top, right or bottom properties, we need to position them as we want, right? So first let us try to position this image horizontally and vertically centered. How we can do that? We need to do some mathematical calculation to position the image horizontally and vertically centered, right? So first we need to know the width and height of this image. So let me show you that. This is person.png. Its dimensions are width is 194 and height is 260. So we have set the width and height of the parent to be 500 px. So 194 means 500 minus 194 is 306. So half of it means 153. And for this, it is 260. So 500 minus 260 is 240. So its half is 120. So 153 and 120 should be the value of left and top points. So let's set that values for the image. Let me set left to be 153 px and top should be 120 px, that is half of 240. And let me also set a border for this. Let it be 3 px solid black. So 3 px solid black. Now let's see the image. Let's refresh. See, it is positioned at the center. But here we need to display this one on the top of this with the arrow. So I think we can move this image a bit towards the bottom. So what we can do for that? We can change the value of top to say 160. It is only because that we need to display the speech bubble on the top of this image. Okay. So let me refresh. See, it has moved a bit towards the bottom. Next, what we need to do, we need to style this span and also the arrow span to display them as a speech bubble. So first let us try to style this one. So how we can style this? We can set some width, height, background color, border, and also increase the size of this text, right? So let us do that. Within here, let me set the width to be say 200 px, then height say 50 px. Let me set a border radius to have some rounded corners of 15 px. Okay, then let me set the background color to be white. Then let me increase the font size to say 18 px. You can use whatever values you want. Here I am setting it as 18 px. Now let's see how it looks like. Let me refresh. See, it is looking like this. Actually, this is not centered, right? So what we can do, we can set text align to be center so that the text will be centered. Refresh. See, it is now centered horizontally. Now the text is horizontally centered. How we can center it vertically as well? There is actually a simple trick using line height. If we want to vertically center a text, what we can do is we can specify line height to be the value of the height of the element. So here we need to display two lines. So we need to divide the height of the element by 2. So here the height of the element is 50 px. So what we can do is we can specify line height to be 25 px. If there is only one line, we can set line height to be 50 px here as the height of the element is 50 px. But as we have to display two lines here, we need to set half of the height. So line height is set to be 25 px, and let's see that. Refresh. See, now it is vertically also centered, right? Next, what we need to do, we need to move this element towards here, right? So we can use top and left for that as well. So the total width of the parent is 500 px. So this time let us try to use some percentage values. So suppose I specify left to be 25% and top to be say 10%. Let's see where it gets displayed. Okay, so save, refresh. See, it is displayed here. I think we can move it a bit towards this side. So we need to increase the value of left a bit, and also we can move it if you want towards the bottom. So let me change left to be 30% and top to be 15%. Let me save this. Let me refresh. See, now it is appearing like this. Next, what we need to do, we need to have an arrow below this so that it will be displayed like a speech bubble. So how we can do that? If you remember, while discussing the border property, we have seen how we can have 4 different colors for an element, right? Let me show you that. Let me specify border style to be solid and border width to be say 20 px. Then border color to be green, blue, red and white. How this arrow element will be displayed now? Let's see that. Save, refresh. See, we are seeing it like this. Suppose I display only this upper section, it is looking like an arrow, right? So what we can do is that we can set the color of this to be white and for the 3 other sections to be transparent. Let me show you that as well. For the first one, let me set the color to be white, and if you just see it now, it will look like this. So I want only this section to be displayed. So instead of blue, let me make it transparent. Instead of red also, let me make it transparent. And also for white, let me make it transparent. And now let's see how the element is displayed. Let me refresh. See, we are just seeing the arrow. So just using the border property, we can display an arrow if we want, right? So here we have specified the color of the top section to be white and all other to be transparent. So now this is looking like an arrow. Next, what we need to do, we just have to move it to this point. So we can use the left and top properties to do that. Here we have specified left to be 30% and top to be 15%. So let us increase this value and also this value so that it will move at the bottom of the bubble element. So here let me specify left to be say 45% and top to be, now it is 15%. So let me set its value to be 25% and see where it gets displayed. So let me save this, let me refresh. See, it is getting displayed here. Suppose you want to move this towards the right hand side, we can change the value to 50%. Okay, so if I increase the value, it moved towards this side. So I think we need to move this at the center. So what we can do for that, we can use the margin left property and set its value to a negative number. So suppose I specify margin left to be say minus 20 px. What will happen? It will move towards the left hand side. So it is now looking centered. Suppose you want to increase the width of this arrow. How we can do that? The width is set using border width property. Suppose I specify border width to be 30 px. This is just to show you. Save. Let me refresh. See, the width is increased. So if you want to make it centered, again you need to change this to a greater value. So minus 30 px. And let's see that. Refresh. See, it is now looking centered. So this way you can adjust the width of this arrow to be displayed. Okay, suppose I change this to 15 and also margin left to minus 15. It will be a more thin arrow. Let me refresh. See, it is looking like this. So this way you can display an arrow as you want. So I think 2020 is the ideal value considering the size of the bubble element. So let me make it 20 itself. Save. Refresh. See, it is now looking like this. So here we have used different CSS positioning techniques to create a speech bubble like this. You can change the color. You can change this background color. You can also increase the border radius value. You can try many different options, but this is how we can create a speech bubble using CSS positioning techniques.